Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to our podcast, which is a show that we have launched so we can have engaging conversations with teachers, people that are on the ground doing the work every single day. My name is Lloyd Hopkins, and I'm the executive director of $1 Million Teacher Project. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but I'm a self-proclaimed teacher fan. This is literally what I do every single day. And my first guest will hopefully be able to attest to some of this because she's seen our work in action. The reason being is because teachers are our most valuable asset, and schools are our most important neighborhood commodities. Schools can transform communities, and that's all driven by teachers. So the work of $1 Million Teacher Project is all about reforming and improving education from the classroom out. With that being said, I want to welcome you to the Teachers Lounge and our first guest ever in the history of our podcast, an amazing high school teacher, Debbie Kunes. Round of applause. I learned this from my daughter. Round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. And thank you so much, Lloyd, for having me today. This is really special. Thank you.
Tell folks a little bit about yourself. What grade do you teach? What school do you work at? How long have you been in the profession? And what got you into teaching?
Like a lot of the students I serve, adverse childhood trauma resulted in coaches and teachers becoming mentors and surrogate parents. So when I went off to college and graduated, I thought there's one path for me, and that's just to reciprocate the generosity and love that I had received when I was coming up. So without my coaches and my teachers, I would have been a statistic and it wouldn't have been a college graduate. So that was my catalyst that motivated me. I also have a background in bilingual and special education because my heart always roots for the underdog. And by no means am I talking about talent and potential in the world, but just students who sometimes are underrepresented. And so that's just all the reasons that I came in to help students with language, to help students with love, to help students know that they are here for a purpose and that there is absolutely no obstacle that will stop them from achieving that, turning their adversity into advantages and their obstacles into stepping stones. And so I've been at this. I'm starting my 29th year as a teacher in public education. Thank you, 29 years. Woo! And I love it. And I feel like every year it's a brand new beginning and a brand new opportunity to improve and to be a better teacher. And so I learn from my students, I learn from my community, and I just am thrilled that this year I'm going to go to Betty Fairfax High School in my own community, which is Levine, Arizona, and I'm going to teach where my husband will be my professional colleague and where both of my children will be scholars at the institution. It's a family affair in Phoenix Union. I'm really excited. Got my brother here. I got my best friend here. And I'm just looking forward to the future.
What led you into teaching was also what led to me launching $1 Million Teacher Project. It was my experience as a disadvantaged youth, as a kid who didn't have resources, and I grew and I was exposed to the trappings of my neighborhood. And so I essentially wanted to be the change I wanted to see in the world. Like it says on my shirt, be the change. I wanted to be for kids what I wish I would have had. Now, where I think our stories depart a little bit is that mine wasn't motivated because I had a teacher that inspired me. My journey was actually inspired by lack of that, which I think is a travesty, that I never had a teacher that took me under their wing. I never had that teacher that cared for me and helped me tap into my human potential. The other thing that I think you touched on that's wow, like if we could bottle it, and encompass that on every campus, is teachers teaching in their community. There's so much conversation around representation, right? And people teaching teachers that come from the community coming back and teaching in that community. The fact that your family is all at this school, husband, kids. What happens today, and largely because we do have school choice, which can be a benefit or a disadvantage. Because what happens is that when we do have a choice, and because as a parent we want our kids to have the best education they can, we're sometimes that causes us to leave our community. That causes us to leave our neighborhood and drive 20, 30 minutes away to another school, because that's where we feel like our kids are going to get a better opportunity, better education. But what happens every time we do that, our neighborhood school is losing talent. Our neighborhood school is losing engaged parents. Our neighborhood school is losing those advocates. They're losing elements of the community. And you've actually reversed that by not only bringing your whole family, bringing your community into your school, but your kids are there, your husband there. So as a team, you all are going to be working on for the betterment of your campus, and I think that's such a powerful thing. So walk us through what a day is like in your classroom.
I love, and I took this from my husband and many other teachers out there, to meet the students in the hall. So I try to be in the hall in between classes, not only to be a safety pillar for students who might need a safe place to retreat to in between classes, but also that's the time to make connections with students, not only in your class, but in the school as well, by giving them true compliments. That's my favorite time of the day, to stand in the hallway as hundreds of beautiful students pass by and to tell them that I like their shoes, that their hair looks beautiful, that I used to wear an outfit just like that back in the day when I was in high school. And that's when you feed your soul with making connections with students outside of the confines of content and classroom. So by the time you ease on into the classroom, the students are there, it's comfortable. I do the old sitcom model, and I believe that you come on in with a nice monologue. You got to catch those students, have a little theme song for the day, and really, you got to sell this. This is your audience. These are your clients, and you owe it to them to be prepared. I say to my students that whatever's happening in my own children's classroom right now, that teacher should be working just as hard for my kids as I am for everyone else's. It's reciprocated. We want the best out of teachers. Well, teachers, we need to give the best to every student that we have, regardless of what level they come to us at. So teach the students who are in front of you, not the students you dreamed of having. Unless you're fortunate and you get your dream students, then it's all a blessing. There are many of us who believe that it's a volitional calling. It's not just a vocation. And you can feel the difference when you walk down a hall, those teachers who, I know it sounds cliche, but they had a calling. And that calling means something. So if we can find those teachers, support their calling, and retain them with their initial passion. Whenever my friends start to have down days at work and they start to be grumpy and complain, I remind them about the reason they became a teacher. It was not for a salary index. There was calling, there was a reason, there was a motivation, like you said, humanistic, that brought us there. And after many years of red tape and institutionalized instruction and school to prison pipelines, it's hard. And to watch our students and to be an ally and to be anti-racist and to love constantly and battle all day, it's trying. But if you can remember why you got in the game, and then every once in a while, folks like you, Lloyd, come along and you sprinkle our seeds so that we can continue to sprout every season.
So the data is out, and it says that we lose most new teachers after 3 years in the profession. And a lot of that is because by 3 years, that passion and that excitement matched up against the challenges of being a teacher gets beat out of you, right? And then when you start to have to settle into the realities of being a teacher and being under-resourced and undervalued and those type of things, it sends people packing. So how do you overcome that? How do you maintain your optimism? How do you maintain this passion that you still have after years in the profession? What are your tips and tricks?
Feed the passion. Zig Ziglar is one of the motivational writers and speakers that I follow, many of them, and he says, inspiration is kind of like a shower. And I'm not paraphrasing it well, but it's not required, but it sure makes you feel good on a daily basis. So to make sure that you feed that, I read a lot of Tony Dungy, and I just love how he leads the uncommon man. And I read a lot of Maya Angelou, and I just love how she tells us that we are phenomenal and that we can, and she shows us that we can come out of the darkest of places and still rise. I look at quotes by Emiliano Zapata. It's better to live on your feet than to die on your knees. And so I feed it. And if I can't get it from physical company, I'll go virtual. So now, whether it's my selective professional learning community, or if it's my virtual community, birds of a feather flock together. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck, or, those kind of things that they say. You can tell a man by the company he keeps. I like to surround myself with people who challenge me to improve and also celebrate with me when I have accomplishments. And then I like to do that back and forth and back and forth. And so teeter-totter with my teacher friends, let's support each other. Let's celebrate each other's successes. Let's share everything that we know and we create.
Coming up next week, more with Debbie Kunes.
A lot of homes don't have adequate space for multiple people to be online at the same time. For example, even my own family, but there's 4 of us. If we were all going to be in a virtual space at the exact same time, 2 of us teaching and 2 of us learning, our house is 1,700 square feet.
Join us again next week when we continue this conversation with Debbie Kunes. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you get podcasts.
The Teacher's Lounge is a production of the $1 Million Teacher Project. Find them online at mdtproject.org.